Hello SPHL fans, thank you for joining me yet again. I know I kind of said I'd probably step away from doing videos for a bit, which I kind of did, but I have more to say, so sue me. And for those that want to say like, oh, he has no life, I have a great life, and a life outside of here. I do these videos when my family are asleep because I'm a third shifter and stay up later than they do, so that's why I'm able to do these videos like I do, and it's fun, so I do it. It keeps the conversation going about hockey. At the end of the day, what I'm doing, it's just opinions, and that's pretty much it. Opinions and passion, something that I like to share. So this is what I do. And in this video, if you guys seen my post earlier, kind of like expectations for the season, ranking 1 through 10 it's basically from worst to best. This has nothing to do with the point standings or predicting the playoffs or where teams will finish at the end of the year, who will raise a cup. This has nothing to do with that. This is just my expectations of all teams 1 through 10, going from worst expectations to best expectations. So for those that think it's too early, no, it's really not too early, because again, I'm not predicting where teams will finish or how they will do come playoff time or anything like that. These are just my expectations based on the last few seasons we've had leading into this new year. So without further ado, we're going to start at number 10 on the expectation ranking list with the Macon Mayhem. If I ever was going to make a prediction on a team when it comes to point standings, this would be one I feel most comfortable making, is that they'll most likely finish last place and miss the playoffs. But again, this ain't a prediction video. Expectations are at the lowest when it comes to this team. Back-to-back seasons now, they finished 9th place and have missed the playoffs, with a record of 21-31, 5-0 last season, and the year before that, 15-34, 3-4. Slightly better record this year, but same result, finishing in 9th place. So, again, not that much better if the end result is still missing the playoffs and finishing in 9th. Their points, respectively, for last year was 45 points and 37 points the year before. This last season that we've had, nobody finished, I believe, below 40 points. Last year, the 9th and 10th place team finished in the 30-point range. This year, we didn't have that. Everybody finished with 40-plus points, which, shows that teams are improving, talent's getting better, and which is a good trend to have, in other words. Goals against for Macon Mayhem. Last season, they gave up 179 goals, which isn't great, but it is a lot better than their previous season of 225 goals that they allowed. Big reason for the improvement was Dyson Skinner was outstanding for Macon Mayhem this year. It's where he's probably played his best hockey, is Macon Mayhem, surprisingly. He's probably been one of the most successful goaltenders that Macon Mayhem has had in long recent memory. And Josh Boyko is always a steadfast goalie. He's a true number one goalie, and he keeps Macon Mayhem in games. 100% he does. Those were the two huge bright spots this year, and Josh Boyko spent a lot of the year on injured reserve, so it was Dyson Skinner and Bailey Birkin, and then when Josh Boyko returned, instead of cutting Birkin like they should have done, they got rid of Dyson Skinner to the Peoria Rivermen, of all people, and kept Birkin. Dumb. That you can thank Coach Chesney for that. Birkin is his boy, I guess, and I don't know if Skinner wanted to go or what. I don't know, but to me that was an easy decision. You keep Skinner over Birkin, but I went the other way with that one. It would have been great to see a Skinner-Boyko tandem in Macon to help strengthen that anchor position on that team. But yeah, they went with Birkin, which is again part of the reason, I don't have high hopes for them, is their coaching and just, having Birkin, like I said, to me, he's one of the most overrated goalies. But anyway, goals for last year, they only had 136 goals. The previous year, they actually had more goals, 141. So again, they trended downward on scoring goals. Even though they improved greatly on preventing them, they dropped in scoring them. So, that's a curiosity, in my opinion, but it is what it is. To me, 3 players you want to see back in a Macon Mayhem uniform that's going to even make it somewhat possible to not finish last and, against all odds make playoffs is Zach Nazareth, Jake Golodowski, and Dan Winslow. Those 3 was the point leaders last year and the best point getters they have on the team. I think the Cup was their captain last season, so I don't, he's not a bad player, obviously a decent leader. So, like I said, I don't, it's not star-studded. Like their best players would be like Zach Nazareth and Boyko, and they can't do everything on their own. Their defense and special teams is just not good. And when you don't have a great defense and special teams, a great team defense and special teams, you don't go far in any league. So that's got to vastly improve to give them any chance. And obviously they got to get more goals on the board too. So that's why I got Macon Mayhem at number 10. Moving on to number 9, I got the Pensacola Ice Flyers. And just because I got them on 9 does not mean I don't expect them to necessarily miss the playoffs 100%. I do think they got an outside shot at making playoffs. First year with a new head coach and new leadership group, it might be a difficult task to get into the playoffs. I think a miracle finish for them would be 7th place. I think that would be the absolute highest hope you could have as a Pensacola Ice Fire fan. But again, we're not predicting point standings. They were 15, 25, 2, and 8 last year, which was a drop-off, obviously, of their previous year before that at 25, 27, 2, and 2. So they finished 10th place last year, first time they've gotten last place. And the year before that, they finished in 7th and were eliminated in the first round. So their points, 43 points last year, 54 points when they finished last. So like I said, you got an 11-point drop-off right there in points. 192 goals against last year. 192. That is worst in the league. Just not a great number to have. And that's a lot of the reason he finished last, just not great team defense and bad special teams, probably the worst special teams in the league. And coaching and leadership, like I said, played a big role in the non-success they've had. They got rid of a good chunk of their best point getters and leaders and brought in goons to replace them. And they wonder why it didn't work out. Made Jake Hamilton captain instead of making Ivan Bondarenko captain. Just questionable move after questionable move, which is no wonder why he got fired in the first place during the season. Completely tanked them from 7th place to finishing last place, which they've never done in their franchise history. So they got a new coach. I'm assuming they're going to have new leaders. I'm still hoping, if I'm a Pensy fan, Ivan Bondarenko gets that captain role. And just to give you an idea, like Caden Cahill last year led the team in goals, even at the end of the year. And it wasn't like he, scored 20 plus goals. He only scored 14. And he led the team in goals that year and was traded over to Marksman. So, like I said, it was just not a great product on the ice last year for Pensacola. But I'm hoping for more positive movement from them this season. Even if they finish 9th place and miss the playoffs, I'd like to see what their record is at the end of the year, their points, their goals for and goals against, what their special teams look like, and see how much it has improved from last season. Obviously you want to see Ivan Bondarenko return. You want him as your captain. And you look for players like Sam Dabrowski, Tyler German, James Nee, CJ Hayes to all return back to Pensacola Ice Flyers to kind of help them hopefully achieve a playoff spot. But we'll just have to wait and see. They had a whole lot of goalies come through the system last season. Started with Rysop and Claes. Rysop ended up leaving. Then it was kind of Claes and Cody Karpinski. Then Claes kind of got hurt. And then you got Ricardo Gonzalez and AJ Ruskowski that came in. So it was a lot of goalie movement for Pensy last year. As opposed to the previous year, Dinger was the man. Dinger was the goalie to a majority of the year for them. He was their anchor. Goals for, was 139 last year with the goals allowed 192. In the previous year, when it was just Dinger at net for the most part, it's 178 goals against, which again is definitely better. And they had 170 goals for. So a major drop-off in goals for with the Pensacola Ice Flyers. Major drop-off. We'll see what this upcoming season looks like for the Ice Flyers. I know there's a lot of optimism in Pensacola, and I do think they'll fare a little better than they did last year. Now this was tricky. Moving on, I put the Bulls at 8th for expectations. It was a big blow for them to lose Cole Ceci. He's been one of their best goalies in their franchise history. And even with him, it's not like they killed it in the regular season. I mean, they finished in 7th and 8th place the previous 2 seasons. But again, he still was one of their best goalies they've had. They had a good track record with goalies. I mean, I'm not going to say they don't. They've had some pretty good goalies come through the past couple of seasons with Ty Taylor and Taylor Joseph as well. I don't know what the future holds for Ty Taylor. Obviously, Thunderbolts do not hold his rights. He could sign with anyone. It's just what Ty Taylor wants to do, really. Does he want to come back the Thunderbolts where he could be the number one goalie, or does he try his luck somewhere else or in Europe or in ECHL? We'll just have to wait and see what Ty Taylor wants to do. And, same with Taylor Joseph. Do they want to bring Taylor Joseph back? And, at least for the backup role, if Ty Taylor comes or Ty Taylor decides not to come, could be Taylor Joseph starting for Evansville. So I got my eye on that to see who's anchoring the net for Evansville Thunderbolts, because we know it's not going to be Cole Ceci. So that was a big blow for them, and one of the reasons I actually dropped my expectations for them. They were 24-24, 2-6 last year. So again, just 500. And the year before that, they were below 500, 23-29, 2-2. Like I said, 7th and 8th, 56 points last year, 50 the previous. So like I said, there was improvements on that front. They had 172 goals against this season, 149 goals for. In the previous season, they had 177 goals against, and again, 149 goals for. So they stayed consistent in goals for, recording the same amount in both years. So, like I said, not much improvement between last year and the year before, but there was some. But that's because, they were able to keep some players and keep goalies like Cole Ceci and Ty Taylor as they continue to grow and get better as goalies and players. But, they really added on to their roster as they got going. And it was one of the best defensive cores I've ever seen for Evansville Thunderbolts last year. And if I'm a Thunderbolts fan, man, I hope a majority or all of them come back, because that's what's really going to help you guys out, is if they keep that ball rolling on defense and play great team defense like they did down the stretch at the end of the season and into the playoffs. Obviously Matt Hobbs is going to return to him, but you'd like to see players like Isaac Chapman, Aiden Litke, Derek Contessa, Brady Lynn return. What's Scott Curtin going to do? Is he going to return? The defense that they had, Stewart, Lindbergh, Berkopek, McPhee, Adams, McElhaney, few others that they've had throughout the season. I know Anthony Hora played defense, and he's a good defender. So, like I said, they did kind of stack their team with defense down the stretch, and their defense kept improving as the season went along, and they played their best hockey at the end of the season in the playoffs. So you'd like to see a majority, if not all of them, return if you're a Thunderbolts fan. Moving on to, now I got 7th on my expectation list. 1 year with a new coach under his belt, so he's got his feet wet in this league. He did start to improve late in the year with college additions, so you hope to retain a lot of them moving forward. Last year, they did finish under 500. They were 24-7, 2-3 for 8th place, 53 points. In the previous year, much better. They were a much better team. They fell off greatly this year. They were 9 games above 500 in regulation. They were 32-23, 1-0, and they finished in 6th with 65 points. So you go from 32 wins to 24 wins, below 500. And you go from 65 points to 53 points. So again, it's kind of a major drop-off to the Storm in a very disappointing year if you're a Storm fan. But there is some things to look forward to the following season when the rosters come out with who they protected. And if you can get those guys to return, I think you guys get off to a little better start, especially now that the coach has a year under his belt. Last year, had 189 goals against and 161 goals scored. And the previous year, they had 176 goals against and 193 goals for. So again, like I said, they've dropped off in every major category. Like I said, I'm almost still wanting to put Bolts ahead of the Storm. But like I said, losing Cole Ceci and rosters not being out yet, so you only know for a fact Cole Ceci's gone, so you don't know who that goalie's going to be for Thunderbolts. That puts a lot of questions in the air. But you know, Brent Moran's is a good goalie. He can be a bit of a mental case, and you can kind of get inside and rattle his cage and get some goals on him. But it's pretty much been the Brent Moran show the past few seasons. You know, his backup, not last year, but the year before, was Kevin Reesop, and, you know, they would in and out. You know, it was still mainly Brent Moran, but Reesop played some games. So, you know, like I said, I think Storm can improve. Okay, I really do. Leif Madsen had himself an MVP type year last year, best year he's played. I think that continues on. It's not like he's going to get any worse. You know, he's an outstanding player. Probably most would call him one of the best players in the league if he wasn't on the Storm. I still think talent-wise, he's one of the best players in the league. It's just, you know, unfortunately for him, he's on the Storm. But the three big people you want to return is obviously Leif Madsen, Whelan Parrish, and Johnny Witzke. You want Cole Goko to return to and be healthy and have a full season, which if he does, that can be a big help. Then you got Stavoyski. I'm not great with names, but I'm sure Storm fans know exactly who I'm talking about. But again, he's one of those college players that came up and played great. Devin Sanders, I think when he joined the team, he was outstanding. I mean, that kid is a goal scorer. He knows how to put the puck in the net. If you can get him to start the year with you, what a big help that'll be. Dylan and Noah Massey were great additions as well. So there is some hope with the Quad City Storm. It's not all hope is lost. They do, even though they fell off greatly, I do think they will improve from what they did last year. So it's not the end of the world for them. I don't think they'll do worse. They could. You know, they definitely could. Like teams like Pensy and Macon Mayhem are hoping they do worse, because really the only hope for them is if Bolts and Storm really fall off. Otherwise, the most likely top two contenders missing again is Mayhem and Pensy. Does that mean they automatically miss? No. But they're going to need the Bolts and Storm to really fall off, and they're going to have to really improve in order to catch them and pass them. So, you know, that's who I got so far listed. I'm going to come out and list 6, 5, and 4. And then after that, I'm going to do 3, 2, and 1 for expectations. They're already selected, but I'm going to do the dramatic slow reveal, if you will. So that's my expectations, guys. 10th, Macon Mayhem. 9th, Pensacola Ice Flyers. 8th, Evansville Thunderbolts. And 7th, the Quad City Storm. I think that's fair. You know, these guys you have been finishing around the bottom 7 the past few seasons. Even though Storm did finish 6th, not last year, but the year before. In 23-24, Storm did finish 6th. But like I said, these teams typically hang out at the bottom. So I think this is a fair expectation. And I know Bolts, you know, God bless them. They won the championship. They're defending champs. But again, they got their work cut out for them to repeat. And and you know, they still got to work hard to even make the playoffs. So I know that's weird to say about a defending Cup champion, but you know, they do. If we're honest with ourselves, they still got their work cut out for them. They are not a shoo-in to repeat by any means, not even close. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you at the next puck drop, and always keep it Riverman style.